Well, I certainly chose a great time to come back. It took me 2 hours to jumpstart this truck, and now I think I'm about to be running late for this tour. But coming back to YouTube, hey, Johnson's Logic, back at it again. What is going on, y'all? Man, do I have a lot of stuff to catch you guys up on, and I'm gonna try and fit it all in one video. That way I can just move forward with the other stuff I want to do. But when I tell you guys, I've tried to make this video like 6 or 7 times, like in the past couple weeks, but this time's gonna be it for sure, because I need to get past it and move on so I can actually start making videos again. So things have changed, and things are good. I feel like I know on my last video it might have been my last video or video before that, like I just felt really down, and now I feel much better. I feel much happier. And we're gonna catch up on all that. So as you all know, I had a dedicated tour gig I've been doing the past 2.5 years, something like that. I decided to quit. I decided to leave doing that tour. The biggest thing about leaving that tour, like, I miss the people I work with and everything, but you know, when the biggest thing that I had to convince myself and actually learn from others is, once you start seeing people change, you need to learn how to pick up on that. And you know, I was just convincing myself that, you know, it's like, oh, it'll pass, it'll go away. And in fact, things just got a lot worse. So I took the initiative to leave that situation, and that's really all it is. So after I left, actually it was kind of like a downhill kind of effective thing. So like, I did my last event with them, and I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna head home. And literally on my way back from taking their trailer back and picking my trailer up, you know, back at their headquarters, I get a call from, I can't remember who it was now. It was a couple weeks ago now. I got a call from a family member, and it was either my cousin or my other cousin or my brother. I don't remember who it was. Or it might have been my aunt. Anyway, come to find out, after I quit that gig, on the way back to get my trailer, my grandfather ended up having, I don't want to use the word heart attack, but that's what I believe that's what they concluded it was. My grandfather had a heart attack and he was hospitalized. So don't get sad on me. It's a good ending, I promise. But he had a heart attack, and so I had that going on. You know, so there's like a whole lot of mental things going on, because I'm already trying to come up with like, okay, well, I just quit my main, if not only, just about only source of income for the past 2 years here at Landstar. I just quit and I don't know what I'm gonna do. So I had that going, then I got that phone call, and I was like, oh, you know, it's like back and forth. It was just a lot going on at the time. So I immediately get back. I made sure I had enough time, or I trip planned myself enough time where I would stop at a point before I got to headquarters. But that point where I would leave to get to headquarters, I would have time to drop their trailer, grab my trailer, and head all the way down to Southern California, where my family lives, and well, that part of my family lives, and in one shift. That way, you know, I can try and get there as quickly as I can. So I get down there, and he's in good spirits. First thing he says to me, and this is something, shame on me, But this is something he's been asking for the past 5 years since I became a truck driver. He's been asking me over and over to ride on the truck with me. So when I obviously I didn't call and let him know that I was coming, but I told the rest of my family that I was there, got a car, and went straight over to the hospital. As soon as I walk in the door, and the first thing he says to me, I'm gonna call him 90-plus-year-old gentleman, walks in the door, sees my face, and he's like, "Oh, you got the truck outside? You ready to go?" And I'm like, "Grandpa," like, you're in the hospital. So everything ends up all right. He had to spend a couple more days in the hospital, so I ended up taking I think I stayed another 7 or 8 days, just helping out around the house and making sure things were fine before I started to deal with the stuff I had on my own. And everything was fine. Everything worked out really well. About halfway through that week, which, good for me, I made a huge push in my studies. Those of you guys who have been with me for a while know that I've been pursuing my pilot's license. So I finally made a huge push while I was having that time off with my family and just hit the books really, really hard. I ended up taking my exam for my pilot's license, and I passed. So I passed my written exam while I was there. The day that I passed my written exam, I got a call from an agent I've never met before, but he saw that I had a liftgate. Said that he had a trade show coming out of San Diego, going up to Ohio, because I was thinking of how I was going to get home. And it was paying a ridiculous amount of money, and it was like 18,000 pounds. And by the time I got there and loaded, it wasn't even that. It was like 6 pieces. But it was asinine amount of money. And I was like, yeah, I'll absolutely take that. So, say all my goodbyes to my family and everything. So it's like, okay, well, now let me get home and figure out some things. Because, obviously, I gotta, return to the load board, do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. So I do that load. While I'm doing that load, I network a little bit while I'm en route to go deliver that in Ohio. And from Ohio, I really want to say I deadheaded home, is what I want to say. I don't really remember. No, I did not. From Ohio, I deadheaded down to South Carolina to pick up some ATVs, and then I took that home. But while I was doing all that, I started networking and got in touch with a couple other BCOs doing this and a couple other agents, and it's kind of like add myself to other books of business. And I was like, okay, okay, that's gonna be enough for me. I had that time off California. I just brought this load back home. I think I delivered that in like somewhere Daytona Beach or Orlando or something like that, and then deadheaded back up to Jacksonville and went home. So while I was sitting at home, I was doing a lot of soul searching, figuring out, like, do I want to keep trucking? Do I want to, what are my options? And I thought a lot about what my options were. And while I was thinking about this, and again, huge shout out to my family, my significant other, always supporting me and hearing me out and listening to my plans and stuff like that. Everyone's like, do what you need to do. And that might sound like a super vague answer, or like that answer doesn't really help me at all, which in actuality it doesn't, but it does. It helped me a lot to where I could choose a direction, and I know that I still would have my support system no matter what I chose to do. So with that, I just hit the ground running. I got hooked up with one agent, doing, like, I think we were opening elementary schools or something like that. I did some school supplier runs, not school supplies, but they're building new schools and they needed their new equipment. Did that one or two times. I did a trade show for Porsche out in Atlanta or Birmingham. Shoot, what else did I do? I think that was really just about it. At that time, I was kind of just doing things just to I'll go do a run and then I go home, and then I go out and do a run and then I go home. So I did that about 3 or 4 times. Nothing really consistent, but just kind of, again, still trying to figure out my niche, but also spending some time at home with my family. And while I was doing that, I got hooked up with another agent. ended up doing a tour for him, going out to right back out to California. And I think that, where did that pick up from? I want to say that picked up from Cleveland. Yeah, I think it picked up from Cleveland. And then went out to California for like a week and a half over the 4th of July. And then on the way back, I finally was able to, I guess, abide by or listen or satisfy my grandfather's wishes, and brought him on the truck with me for about a week. I think he was on the truck about 7, 8, 9 days. You know, I'll put some pictures up if I can, you know, format it correctly. But we had a great time, man. We had such a blast. He had a good time. I had a great time. I was able to finally, you know, my grandfather worked in the ports for, I'm gonna take a wild guess and say 20, 30 years, something like that. He worked in the ports of Long Beach, and you know, he was able to drive trucks out at the port, but not able to drive trucks over the road. So the fact I was able to take him out on the road with me, and we had such a great time. That was really that's one of the things I've been wanting to do for a really, really long time. And it's one of the things I couldn't do while I was at Prime because I was training. So I always had a student with me every time I went out to California. And then when I came to Landstar, I said I would do it. But then the first couple months I never came to the West Coast. And then I got hooked up with, you know, the main tour I was doing. And I'm sure I could have passengers, but also there wasn't really a lot of traveling that we were doing. And if we were traveling, we'd travel for a couple days, but then we'll sit for a week. So it's like, I didn't really want to take them on that. But then I was like, well, I'll find something in between. But then, you know, finding stuff in between that fits the schedule of getting him, getting a load, getting somewhere, getting back, or flying him back and me still getting back to be able to go back to that gig on time. It was a lot of logistics I really couldn't handle. So, you know, by essentially leaving that gig, you know, I was able to finally do something I've told my grandfather I was going to do for the past 5 years, which is great. Also in that time, that last run I had with my grandfather, I flew him back home from Atlanta. And then from Atlanta, because I think I picked up a hazmat load out of West Virginia, or no, it was South Ohio. I picked up a hazmat load going down to South Georgia. So on the way, I dropped him off in Atlanta with some more family, and he flew back. So on that trip, I actually paid off my trailer. So my liftgate trailer is now 100% paid for. I have the title. I probably left it in my office back at home, I'm thinking about it. But I have the title in my hand. It's all mine, 100%, no lien holder or anything. So I was able to pay that off in 1.5 years. Thank God. So that's one great accomplishment that happened. After I paid that off, and I did that concert tour. I mean, the concert tour is over now. I did a concert tour for Blink 182, and that was fantastic. I had a great time with them. It was a great group of guys that we worked with, and I don't know if you can tell my face getting lighter, but where I'm parked right now, I can't tell you the name of it because I'm trying to get this video out to you today, but I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but maybe not. But that's kind of the view I have today. I can't tell you the city or state I'm in. Maybe I'll do it on another video after I leave, obviously. But the sun, as you can see, is just hitting the water now and it's lighting up my face. So, really nice place to park, by the way. Great food. Anyway, so yeah, I got my trailer paid off. I did a tour for Blink 182. I ended up doing another tour that was like a week and some change after I finished with Blink 182. I had a great time with those guys, and in fact, the only reason I'm not telling you guys the name of it now is because I'm currently back on tour with them, because they requested me by name to make sure that I come back and drive for them. So I'm currently on tour with them right now, so I can't tell you guys who I'm doing right now, but I did a tour with them, and apparently, like I said, it worked out really, really well. There's a brand new customer for an agent, or not might not have been a brand new customer, but at least these guys, they're trying to, you know, network and work their way into the system. And, you know, that agent trusted me enough to, you know, kind of spearhead this project. And so, you know, I let them know, I was like, you know, I would love to do it. So obviously came in, knocked it out of the park, and that was only like a week and some change. I think it was like 8 or 9 days, maybe 10 days. And went home for about 2 weeks. Yeah, I went home for about 2 weeks. I spent time, I stopped in Atlanta, I spent time with my mom. I stayed with her for about 3 or 4 days, just catching up, because ever since I moved down to Florida, I haven't made the time to go and see my mom. So I spent a couple days with her, which was fantastic. And then after that, I came back home for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and then Blink 182 called me back, in which the clip at the very beginning of this video where my batteries were dead, that was 6 days ago. And when I tell you, I have been moving since then, because I had to leave from my house to pick up in Cleveland, run up to Toronto, come back down to Cleveland. And that was, so I had to pick up Wednesday, the show was Thursday, and then I had to redo gear return Friday morning, and had to be back down in Nashville to pick this tour up on Saturday. So these past couple days have been just running. So obviously today is Monday, so I picked up Saturday, and from Saturday I basically had to beeline up here. And man, when I've just been running. But like I said, I promised you guys that I'm really trying to come back to content creating, and I needed to get this video out. Just like, because I wanted to do a driving video, then I started thinking about it. I'm like, if I do a driving video, it's not gonna be as personable as me sitting down and talking to you and, like, you know, really letting you guys, you know, see my face and, you know, evaluate for yourselves how things are going. But things are going great. You know, like I said, I'm back on tour. I'm now, surprisingly, I was only going to come back out for that Blink 182. Then I got a call about this a few days prior to me going out for Blink 182 to come back out with them. And then from the same agent, surprisingly, I got offered a follow-up tour that starts just about a week and a half after this tour ends. And that tour is for like a month. So I'm actually booked out until like the 1st or 2nd week of October, which is, for me, is fantastic. And the only reason I say that is because I just paid off my trailer. So I've already freed up kind of the money up from that. I removed the lien, which freed up a little bit of my truck and trailer insurance. And my truck is about to be paid off. So all the revenue that I'm getting from these loads, I honestly want to say I only have 1 payment left, maybe 2 payments left on my truck. So after I get paid for the last tour, and probably this one, I'll probably go ahead and pay my truck off. Just pay it off early, that way all of that next tour's revenue is just all going in my little honey pot. And the reason I'm doing that is because I've already spoken with a flight instructor. I found a flight school that I'm very interested in, and it's not far from my house. So I have full intentions on having my pilot's license before the end of the year. So all that honey pot is gonna go to me getting my pilot's license. And if I save enough, quite possibly a sizable down payment on my own airplane. So fingers crossed for that. We're gonna see how that goes, but I will absolutely take you guys along with the journey. As I always say, you guys, if you're thinking, you might as well do it logically. Make all the right decisions that you can. Even if it doesn't seem like it might be great at the time, sometimes things have a habit of working out. I'll see you guys next time. You guys be safe. Peace.